coming up first of our four speakers is Jamie Mellalieu, and he is the CRO at UserZoom. So his title for his talk is Using Values to Drive Sales Performance. He's going to be talking about sharing value-based methods that have been highly effective for his team. Jamie is an experienced sales leader specializing in digital SaaS and tech, and he joined UserZoom in 2013 as a business development manager for Europe before progressing to his current role of CRO in 2018. And I think the biggest piece is that they've had a huge amount of growth this year, and I know they've got a huge amount of growth forecasted next year, so I'm sure that we'll learn a lot from listening to him talk. So if you could welcome Jamie up to the stage, and Jamie's going to do his 7 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Am I on? I am. I guess the first thing I should say is the irony is not lost that I'm the guy you're going to need subtitles for, not Timo. But let's see how we go. You can just raise your hand if you don't understand what I'm saying. All right, so why did I pick this topic? I've been managing sales teams for 22 years. Actually, literally half my life now at 44. And you start out in sales leadership and you read all the books and you do all the stuff and you have metrics and you have sales process and you have all of those things. And that was certainly the case for me. And you need all of those things. And yet, you would hire two people that seem equally skilled, equally experienced, both seem equally poised for success in that organization. And one may succeed and another one may fail. And I never figured it out. For at least 3 or 4 years, I never figured it out. And I just thought, well, okay. Some people make it and some people don't. And then what happened is over the course of my career, I started to realize that the more I helped people manage their emotional state, get to some kind of level of neutrality so that they could receive any kind of learning or not feel quite so judged by the machine or their manager or the system or their number, the more successful that they seem to be. So in terms of emotional state, salespeople, maybe sales leaders, tend to live in two places, hope and fear. It's kind of where we are, right? God, we hope it goes well, and oh my God, but what if it doesn't? And if I lose this quarter, what happens next quarter? And what if I run out of logos to get? They want me to get more logos, and it's very, very hard to play loose if you live in those two emotional states. So, I don't know now, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I decided to write down what I thought our values should be as a sales organization. And so I'll give you the 4, and then I'll kind of explain how we use it. So the first one is something called continuous improvement through incremental gain. We also term that Kaizen, which is the Japanese name for that particular philosophy. The second one is teamwork. And there's a lot goes into this. I know that's a thing that goes on everyone's slide. Teamwork, we believe in teamwork. But it's a thing. The third one is courage and humility. And then the fourth one, and this usually gets a reaction, I'm not trying to, is the undying love of Manchester United. Now, that does a few things. First off, hopefully, yeah, there you go. This is where it all goes wrong, and I get heckled. I stand here proud, but slightly embarrassed, and that one's really more of a metaphor for fun. We are not doctors and nurses on the precipice of a global pandemic, having tried to run it 2 years, ground into the ground. We're not in the forces, we're not in the police, we're not in those services that really matter to us as humans, that keep us as society and keep us going. We're trying to sell software and hopefully make our customers' lives better and improve what they're trying to do. So try and have fun, because to Timo's point, you're going to spend a lot of time together figuring out a lot of stuff at a breakneck pace if you are trying to do it. Q2 this year, we hired 49 people. Q3, we hired 76. God knows what we'll end up hiring in Q4. And that is stressful. Even when you're winning, that's stressful, let alone if you can't. And as everybody knows, it's not the easiest jobs market right now. So try to remember to have fun. Yes, we're a software company. I'll confess it. We have a ping pong table, but that's not really what it means. By trying to have fun it's when your salesperson comes into your room and is very, very, very clearly distraught by the fact that the sales not going well, or the procurement person's not getting back to them, or the business user's gone dark. You've got a choice as a leader of how you react to that. Now, I'm not saying that fun means that you start juggling and playing Cluedo and all of that stuff, but you can definitely manage their state, and I guarantee they will be more successful and more likely to close that particular deal. So I'm going to use Kaizen as a start. So interestingly, it was invented in America post-war when they were asked to build up the Japanese economy again, having, unfortunately, been not particularly nice to Japan during the war. And the Americans kind of left it, but the Japanese, being the Japanese, really crafted it and mastered it, and it drove a lot of their manufacturing. And so all it really means is that rather than think about a big, big goal, try to break it down into its smallest possible component and get a small improvement. How I came to it was, I read a blog post about Dave Brailsford. Anybody know who Dave Brailsford is? Is that ringing any bells for some people? So some nods, some not nods, so I'll explain. So Dave Brailsford is a guy that's kind of revolutionized British cycling. I'm not particularly a cycling fan, but I read a blog about how he did it, and I was like, that's the thing. That's how I can help people figure this emotion stuff out and get them back to neutral. So to explain the blog post, I guess, what basically happened was the UK British cycling team, before Dave Brailsford joined, was a bit crap. There was one good guy in like 20 years. We'd won half a medal. We'd never won the Tour de France, all of that stuff. And when they interviewed him, they said, look, your target is just try and get a medal. Just one medal. We don't care about the colour. We don't care where it's awarded. Just try and get a medal. And he went, forget that. That's not what we're doing. Everybody that goes, their aim is to get a medal. Medal or nothing is how he termed it. In the British Board of Cycling said, sounds amazing. But by our estimates, that's a 30% jump in performance. How are you going to get a 30% jump in performance? Because, as everybody knows, in anything elite sport, elite sales leadership, that level of jump is just a phenomenal amount of jump to make. And he mentioned this philosophy. And so what he did he did things like he would take the rider and he would look at what they were wearing, right? And if they were a distance rider, did it reduce chafing? Did it make them more extreme? If they were a power rider, did it add to the power that they were trying to deliver through the bike, right? The bike itself, of course, the wheels, the tires, the brakes, the saddle, all of that stuff, 0.5% here, 1% there. Within 3 to 4 months of him running the team, each athlete had their own customized mattress that he would take to every hotel to aid recovery. Because there's some really tall guys and girls in the cycling teams, and there are some really smaller, more powerfully built people, and they needed different levels of mattress support. It got to the point where they'd had a couple of technical breakdowns, and he spent all evening watching the mechanics work through the night to see what they were doing wrong. They weren't doing anything wrong. What was happening was the lighting was poor. And so they were making mistakes and they were dropping screws, and it was taking them ages to find the screws, and so they were tired and frustrated and making little mistakes. So he did 2 things. He improved the lighting in the trucks, and he put a magnetic pad on the back of the glove, so if they dropped something, they didn't really need it, they could just pick it up on the glove and take it off the glove. And it reduced the mechanical failures by something ridiculous like 80%. And I read that, and I thought, that's it. Not that we're all going to go and get bikes and wear Lycra and mattresses and all of that, but that's how I do it. And so I got the sales team that I ran at the time, I got them all in a room, furiously excited. And when your sales team are going, good, yeah. This guy's but I started to implement it, and it worked. So I'll give you an example. I'm in a fortunate position where UserZoom is doing very well, and I have sales teams all over the place. When I'm in town, which is starting to happen again, particularly with the younger sales teams, I'll say to them, hands up if you've worried about your number this week or this month. In fact, the sales leaders in this room, hands up if you worried about your number in the last day. Right? Human emotion. Perfectly fine. We are emotional, sentient beings. It's not about removing emotion. It's about accepting that we have it, but learning to think through it and manage it. And so I say to them, that's okay, that's fine. But hands up if you're worried about making your demo 1% better, or knowing 1% more about that particular ICP or that particular persona. And of course, all of them go, well, not in a while. I mean, the training was like August, and they don't. They worry about the result. You can't change that result. You can only manage, change, and execute a process. So you have to accept that emotion, but transfer it to somewhere else and look for incremental gains. And that is one of the big ways that you can really, really drive improvement. So if a salesperson happens to be in my office and they're worried about the number, one of the common behaviors is, in fact, the most common behavior is, they've got one deal at the end of the quarter and they need to close it. And that emotion drives fairly short-term or immediate and sometimes kind of dumb thinking. What they do is they ring that customer every day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day. They ring procurement, they complain to procurement that the other guy's not done the thing, and then they come into the office and just go, oh, it's still commit, right? And so what happens is, rather than thinking, well, how the hell have I got myself into a position where I have one opportunity that I absolutely have to close? What do I do about that? So next time, I still got the one to close, but I've got 5. So I've got a good shot and I'm a little less stressed, and probably it's a better buying experience for the prospects. They don't. They keep picking up that phone. And so with these values, we try to help them recognize that the emotions of hope and fear, which is just perfectly acceptable and everybody has it, drives maybe not the smartest behavior. And what we do is we Kaizen it. Why are you at this point in the quarter with whatever it is that you don't have? Think about that. Now, when I run Kaizen sessions with teams, it's hard. It's hard to think small. And it's kind of the antithesis of what SaaS talks about. Think big, move fast, break stuff, all of that kind of rah, blog stuff. And so I'll say to a team of SDRs, right, let's pick something to improve. Outreach. Okay, great. What? Emails. Okay, smaller. Well, good emails. It's actually really hard to do, to break it down. And then eventually you'll get to, I'll tell you what, guys, how about next time you do a campaign, you A/B test a subject line? Could you do that for me? And most of them go, actually, yeah, I could do that. All of a sudden, they're not worried about the 5, 10, 15 meetings they need to get. They're trying to do an A/B test on a subject line, and guess what? The A/B test a subject line, and they get the number that they were chasing because they tried to manage the process, not the thing. And so all of these other principles that we have, we're really using to try to help them manage their emotional state at certain touch points through the SaaS soap opera that we live, right? So teamwork's another one. Teamwork sounds like a twee thing that you put on a slide, and it isn't. There's loads of studies that I've not got time to go through that shows you that the best teams are the ones that share opinions regardless of seniority, regardless of tenure, regardless of intellect, regardless of anything. Everybody in that team has an opinion, and all of those opinions will be given due consideration. It's not highest IQ, it's not most tenure, it's none of that. And so again, when everyone's in a room and everyone's pointing fingers, well, it wasn't me. My email was stellar. Marketing did this thing that didn't help me, right? We tried to say, guys, hey, whoa, right? What was it that marketing did? Marketing, you can't get mad. What was the thing that they did? Okay, is that something you can improve? Or is that, why did we do that? And so on and so on and so on. The undying love of Manchester United is a little harder to operationalize, I'll be honest. It's kind of in you or it ain't. So I'll finish up by saying, don't fake this. You can't fake it. I've seen it. I've seen those twee presentations where teamwork's on there, and then you minute in the room, the sales manager's pointing at the board going, well, this isn't very good, is it? Look at this stack rank. What's going on here? So don't do it if you don't want to follow it through. Genuinely go home and think about the values that you try to espouse when you're in battle. It's easy to be friendly and fun when the heat's not on. But when it's Q4 and you need that deal, you still got to be able to occasionally go to the guy, you know what? Let's just talk about over a game of ping pong. Maybe the ping pong table does work, who knows, right? Or, you know what, let's go for a beer, let's chill out. Like, we'll figure it out, right? And if you can't bring yourself to do that, because not everybody's built the same way, and some people are passionate and all the rest of it, maybe passion is one of your values, and you explain why passion isn't a bad thing, because it's okay to get a little heated, as long as I don't know. But think about it. And then in thinking about it, communicate it. We communicate our values all the time. They're on the walls. We talk about it at kickoff. We run sessions about them. We make sure we reference them in most one-on-ones. The first thing I had to do, because I manage quite often managers of managers these days, is see if they bought in. Because if they don't believe in the values I said were our values, probably not really our values. The other thing that's proven to be really useful, actually, is if you talk about it in your recruitment, which is a challenge for everybody these days, it actually becomes a differentiator. Not many people are talking about that. They're talking about the ping pong table and the rah, rah, rah and all of that. And that's fine, because that's part of it. But if you've got a clear set of values and you can explain how you practice them and what that means, we found our recruitment to be way more successful. And then talk about it at kickoff. So I'll finish up by saying, I have found using a published set of values a fantastic way to genuinely get through that shell that salespeople build. and help them change behavior. I'm not talking to you, that person, about how bad you are. We're talking about this thing that we do, Kaizen, and it's an incredibly refreshing way to look at challenges. And I couldn't recommend it any higher. Thanks very much.